Average people disappear. History doesn't remember balance. It remembers obsession. The comfortable, the cautious, the ones who played it safe. They fade into nothing. No legacy, no impact, no memory. Just background noise in a world that only celebrates the rare. And before this ends, you'll understand why most people never matter. Not because they lack potential, but because they lack the stomach to walk away from comfort. They wake up the same. They think the same. They complain the same. They scroll the same feeds, watch the same content, repeat the same patterns. And they wonder why nothing changes. They blame the system, the economy, their parents, their circumstances. Never themselves. Never the fact that they choose ease over effort, distraction over discipline, entertainment over education. They are addicted to comfort, and comfort is a slow death. It whispers lies, tells you there's time, tells you tomorrow will be different. Tells you that you deserve rest after doing nothing worth resting from. And you believe it. Because believing it is easier than admitting the truth. That you've been wasting your life on things that don't build you. That your potential is rotting while you wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling. But perfection never comes. Only regret does. And by the time most people realize what they've lost, they're too far gone to get it back. That's mediocrity. Not stupidity, not inability, just the slow acceptance of less. The quiet surrender to average, the decision to stop trying before you even started. And the world doesn't punish you for it, it just forgets you. At some point in this message, you'll feel attacked. That's because this isn't for everyone. It's filtering. Separating those who want change from those who want comfort. Those who are willing to suffer from those who need constant ease. If you feel resistance right now, good. That means you're still alive enough to feel the gap between where you are and where you could be. Most people numbed that feeling years ago. They chose distraction, chose ignorance, chose the safety of staying small. You're still here. That means something. But listening changes nothing. Understanding changes nothing. Only action separates the forgotten from the unforgettable. And action starts with one decision. To build a life on discipline, not motivation. Motivation is a spark. It feels good. It gets you started. Then it dies. And when it dies, most people quit. They wait for inspiration, wait for energy, wait for the right mood. Meanwhile, the exceptional don't wait. They build systems. They create structure. They execute regardless of how they feel. Because feelings are unreliable. Feelings fluctuate. Feelings lie. But discipline is constant. Discipline is the decision to show up when you don't want to train when you're tired, to focus when you're distracted, to choose the hard path when the easy one is right there. That's the foundation. Not talent, not luck, not circumstances, just the refusal to negotiate with weakness. You set a standard, you protect that standard, you raise that standard every single day. No excuses, no exceptions, no compromise. And in the beginning, nobody notices, nobody applauds, nobody cares. You wake up early, you train, you study, you build, and the world keeps moving like you don't exist. Your friends don't understand. Your family questions your choices. The people around you think you're extreme, obsessed, taking it too seriously. And they're right. You are obsessed. Because mediocrity is built on balance, and you're not here for balance. You're here to become something they can't ignore, but that requires pain, isolation, sacrifice. Let's talk about loneliness. The kind nobody warns you about. The kind that comes when you outgrow your circle. When your goals no longer align with theirs. When their conversations feel shallow and their ambitions feel small. You'll sit in rooms full of people and feel completely alone. Because you're no longer on their frequency. They talk about weekend plans. You think about decade plans. They celebrate small comforts. You're chasing large transformations. They want to relax. You want to dominate yourself. And the gap grows, not because you're better, but because you chose a different war, and wars are fought alone. You'll lose friends, not because of conflict, but because of distance. Because growth creates separation. Because the version of you they knew no longer exists. And that hurts, but that's necessary. You cannot carry dead weight into the future. You cannot build a powerful life while surrounded by people who need you weak to feel secure. So you cut distractions. You remove energy vampires. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. You enter the silence. And in that silence, you discover something most people never find. Yourself. Not the version they wanted. Not the version that fit in. Not the version that sought approval. The real one. The one that doesn't need validation. Doesn't need comfort. Doesn't need permission. The one that just moves. This is where the shift happens. From what do I want to who must I become? Most people live in wanting. They want money, want respect, want success, want change. But wanting is passive. Wanting doesn't build anything. Becoming does. You stop asking what you want and start asking who you need to be to deserve it. What does that person do every day? How do they think? How do they move? What do they refuse to tolerate? And then you become that. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. You adopt their identity before you have their results. You think like them, act like them, discipline yourself like them. And slowly the gap closes, not because you're pretending, but because you're becoming. Identity-based growth is the only growth that lasts. Because once you are that person, the results are inevitable. You don't chase success. You embody the standards that generate success. You don't chase respect. You become someone undeniable. You don't chase power. You develop the discipline that makes power unavoidable. And this takes time. Years, not days, not weeks, not months. Years of invisible progress. Years of effort nobody sees. Years of sacrifices nobody acknowledges. This is a long-term war, and most people lose it in the first month because they expect fast results. They expect recognition. They expect the world to notice. But the world doesn't care about your effort. It only cares about your outcome. So you work in silence. You build in silence. You suffer in silence. No posts, no updates, no explanations. Just quiet, relentless execution. And while everyone else celebrates small wins, you stack small disciplines. While they rest, you refine. While they coast, you compound. And years later, when they finally see what you've built, they'll call it luck. They'll call it talent. They'll call it anything except what it actually is. Discipline sustained over time. That's the formula. Nothing sexy, nothing complicated, just consistency that most people can't stomach. Because consistency requires patience, and patience requires belief. Belief that the invisible work matters, that the unrewarded reps count, that the unnoticed improvements compound into something undeniable. Most people don't have that belief, so they quit, they switch paths, they chase shortcuts, they look for hacks, and they stay average forever. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't still be here. You'd be scrolling, distracted, looking for easier content, softer truths. But you're not. You're still listening. Because somewhere inside, you know this is real. That mediocrity is a choice. That discipline is the answer. That you've been wasting time, and now you're done. Done with excuses. Done with comfort. Done with the version of yourself that settled for less because it felt safer. Average seeks balance. The exceptional seek dominance over themselves. Average wants fairness. The exceptional wants superiority through effort. Average blames the world. The exceptional rebuild themselves until the world has no choice but to notice. That's the difference. Not talent, not luck, not advantages, just the refusal to accept anything less than your absolute best. And once you cross that line, there's no going back. Because average starts to feel like suffocation. Comfort starts to feel like decay. Distraction starts to feel like betrayal. Your standards shift, your tolerance drops, your focus sharpens. You become allergic to wasted time, to shallow conversations, to low-level thinking. You protect your energy like a finite resource. You guard your attention like a weapon. You treat your focus like the most valuable thing you own, because it is. And the people who don't understand that lose access. Not out of arrogance, out of necessity. You only have so much time, so much energy, so much mental bandwidth, and you're not spending it on people who drain you. You're spending it on becoming undeniable, on building a life so aligned with discipline that mediocrity becomes impossible. On creating a standard so high that slipping feels worse than suffering. That's the lock-in. The point where going back to average hurts more than pushing forward toward greatness. Where discipline isn't a burden, it's your identity. Where sacrifice isn't painful, it's purposeful. Where isolation isn't lonely, it's strategic. You stop needing permission, you stop seeking approval, you stop waiting for the right time. You just execute. Day after day, month after month, year after year. While the world forgets the comfortable and celebrates the obsessed. And you become the exception, not because you're special, but because you refuse to be anything else. You refuse to fade, refuse to settle, refuse to waste the one life you were given on things that don't matter. And in that refusal, you built something rare, something most people will never experience. A life of discipline, of clarity, of power. A life where you don't wonder if you could have been more. Because you became everything you were capable of. No regrets, no excuses, no what-ifs, just the cold, undeniable truth that you chose to be unforgettable in a world designed to keep you average. And that choice, made every single day, is what separates legends from ghosts. So make it now. Not tomorrow, now. Comment, "I choose to be the exception," if you refuse to disappear.